Man, early 2000s was a weird time for the horror genre. This goddamn puppet was riding high over the entire genre, raking in hundreds of millions of dollars. After seeing all the success that the Saw franchise achieved, a man named Dirk K. Vandenberg decided he wanted to make his own Saw, so he enlisted Luis Camara and Gabriela Galanter to co-write Steel Trap, and then Luis Camara eventually directed the film.
Got down to business, but sometimes the business end of this shit can turn your friends against you.
So this is a story about the year 2007. Saw 4 had just been released and made over $130 million. Film executives were running around like headless chickens, trying to be the first one to squirt out a half-decent clone. Or at least that's what I assume, because I can't imagine any other reason to create Steel Trap. Oh, I get it. Well, this is gonna require a bit of explaining. Alright, so basically in the 1970s, local German filmmakers were struggling to compete with the new encroaching American cinema, which was basically creeping into the European market after blockbusters like Jaws and Star Wars. The solution was to create tax loopholes for filmmakers so that if a film lost money, they could make it back. What this meant was that there was basically no downsides to making a film. While this did mean that several filmmakers were able to not concern themselves with the financial aspect of filmmaking, several unscrupulous people began quickly cobbling together whatever film they could make as quickly as possible and releasing it. And it didn't matter if the film made money or not. For good or for ill, the law was changed eventually, so people like Uwe Boll and films like Steel Trap, they're a lot more difficult to get made these days. Alright, so Steel Trap is a 2007 horror movie set in a building. Any building, I don't know where it's supposed to be. I assume the actors are supposed to be playing American, so I assume it's America. I mean, I could Google this. I could look this up, but then I'd be putting more effort into it than the filmmakers did. It was direct-to-video, and I'm not even sure many people saw it because it's really hard to get footage of it online, and all I could find was the trailer. There's one guy who filmed a review for this film about 10 years ago, and I think that's about as much discourse as this film deserves, honestly. My basic review of the film is that it's a low-budget Saw ripoff made by a German man for a tax loophole. And that's about as deep as I'm able to go because there's not really any themes going on or any kind of creative aspect to the film. I mean, the reason why I wanted to talk about this film was because the production design was so lazy and off-putting that it actually made me angry. Like, I watched another low-budget horror film and I felt so happy when I saw like just the tiniest bit of effort put into the production design, which is something that people overlook so often when it comes to filmmaking. And that's actually like the main problem with the film. You know, I could talk about the acting and how it's bad, but really there's some stuff you could do to turn this into like a mediocre bad horror film, but it's just the whole film is set in like office hallways, just like empty, bare, like just walkways, you know? And I've never had this issue watching a film before, you know? I'm usually fine with watching a movie like that's all set in one room. The set design is just so boring that I was begging the film to like go somewhere interesting. And another reason I really wanted to talk about this movie was its obscurity. Like, I don't know anyone who's watched this film. I bought it like 12 years ago and I still had it lying around, so I decided to give it a look. There's nothing about it online, basically. There's an IMDb page, and one of the actresses was big in the UK television, but I was just so fascinated by who made this film and who watched it, you know? Who was this movie made for? And it turns out no one. Like, no one was supposed to watch the film, and that was the point. That was the business plan.